Tonight, jailbreaks inside the manhunts to put escape inmates behind bars. The dramatic video as two are captured on the run in Texas and at large for more than a week after bolting from their New Orleans cells, where the search stands for the rest and the new details on the people accused of aiding them while on the lam. It comes as law enforcement is trying to close in on a former Arkansas police chief convicted of murder. The images of him wearing a uniform he made to look like a corrections officer. What the prosecutor who put him away tells us. The controversy over the COVID vaccine, why the CDC is no longer recommending shots for healthy kids and pregnant mothers. Will insurance cover vaccines if you want one? Road rage, what a judge just ruled as New York fights the Trump administration over congestion pricing tolls in Manhattan. Plus, could the fees spread to other U.S. cities? The new data on how much they have cut down on traffic. The King's Speech, Charles pushing back on President Trump's entrees to make Canada part of the U.S. With the popularity of supplements on the rise, so are side effects. Our report on the new concerns about liver damage. And state-of-the-art, from Nintendo cartridges to ALF, how a collegiate time capsule is connecting generations.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. The desperate race to stay ahead of the law for those escaped New Orleans jail prisoners has come to a crushing end for 3 more of them. 2 of the escapees making a final bolt for freedom by car, leading police in a pursuit down a Texas highway yesterday, finally corralled by law enforcement. And with a separate inmate arrested in Baton Rouge, all but 2 of the men who originally escaped into the night a week ago last Friday have been recaptured. And with each day, new details emerging about the escapees' lives on the run. Though the New Orleans breakout resembles a movie plot, another escape we're following tonight from an Arkansas prison has written its own improbable plot line. A police chief serving 30 years for murder, now on the run after an impersonation act helped him escape. Here's Priya Shrather.
Hey, everybody move to the right side of the car.
This dramatic new video released by police shows the moment 2 of the inmates who escaped from a New Orleans jail were recaptured on the side of a Texas highway after 10 days on the run. The video shows Jermaine Donald and Leo Tate leading police on a high-speed chase before they were finally apprehended.
Unlock the door with your right hand.
Another inmate was also arrested Monday in Baton Rouge, leaving 2 of the 10 inmates who escaped on May 16th still on the loose. We're also learning more about the people charged with helping them. Court documents show the night before the escape, one inmate instructed his sister to be outside the prison at 11:30 the following night, telling her to ask his girlfriend to get him a, quote, clean phone. Meanwhile, in Arkansas, police are still trying to determine how this inmate was able to escape from prison wearing a makeshift outfit they say was designed to mimic law enforcement. 56-year-old Grant Hardin is a convicted murderer and rapist serving a 30-year sentence, but he was once the police chief of the small town of Gateway, Arkansas. Nathan Smith prosecuted Hardin twice.
How would you stack him up in your entire career of prosecution? I mean, was he one of the worst? Was he the worst?
He was certainly one of the worst. If you look at criminals who are sociopaths, I don't think you could have a better example than Grant Hardin. The ability to walk around in society, to hold your hand up and swear an oath to protect and serve, while at the same time knowing that you've committed these heinous deeds in the past, is very troubling.
In 2017, Hardin pled guilty to fatally shooting city worker James Appleton in the face in broad daylight. His DNA was then tied to an unsolved rape of a school teacher from 1997. Cheryl Tillman is the mayor of Gateway and Appleton's sister.
It's very hard to know now that this crazy guy has escaped.
Hardin has been subject of at least 2 documentaries.
He was right there and nobody knew.
Now another twist in the story of the man known as the Devil in the Ozarks.
And Priya, I know we're covering a lot here. What's the latest on the manhunt in Arkansas?
Yeah, Lester, so officials here say they have notified the family members of Hardin's victims that he's still on the run. They say he would have likely had to use some sort of vehicle to get away from the prison area, so they're asking members of the public to remain extremely vigilant. Lester?
Priya Shrather, thank you. Tonight, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the CDC is ending its COVID vaccine recommendation for healthy children and healthy pregnant women. Ann Thompson joins us now because how the decision was made is raising some questions.
Lester, there's a lot of confusion tonight. In a 54-second video, Secretary Kennedy says the vaccine has been removed because of a lack of clinical data to support the booster strategy in healthy children. But apparently, the decision did not go through the typical CDC review process by outside advisors, which would then make a recommendation to the CDC director. Right now, there is no director. So what does all this mean? The Affordable Care Act says insurance has to cover CDC-recommended vaccines. It is unclear tonight if people will have to pay out of their own pockets for their kids' COVID shots. The CDC's own website does not match what Secretary Kennedy said today, and we've reached out to HHS but have yet to hear back, Lester.
Okay, Ann, thank you. Tonight, we're learning the State Department is stopping all new applications for student visas as President Trump also escalates his clash with Harvard, warning he could take away millions in taxpayer-funded grants for the university. Gabe Gutierrez has late details.
Tonight, President Trump's crackdown on international students is intensifying, his administration ordering embassies to stop interviews for student visas as the State Department prepares for an expanded social media screening for applicants, according to an internal cable seen by NBC News. It comes after a judge temporarily barred President Trump from blocking Harvard University from accepting future international students, which make up over a quarter of its student body.
We have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign.
Zaleen Ma is graduating with a PhD from Harvard, but worries he'll have to go back to China instead of conducting postdoctoral research on AI here in the U.S.
What would your message to President Trump be?
We international students, we have followed every rule. We got our visa. We passed all the background checks, and we shouldn't be the ones who are facing such uncertainties.
In a new escalation, the Trump administration is reviewing $100 million in federal contracts with Harvard.
We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous.
The president also posting he's, quote, considering taking $3 billion of grant money away from a very anti-Semitic Harvard and giving it to trade schools instead. A university task force recently found bullying and intimidation of Jewish students on Harvard's campus. But the university's president is describing the Trump administration's actions as retaliation for our refusal to surrender our academic independence.
Why cut off research funding? Sure, it hurts Harvard, but it hurts the country.
The president is also now threatening to withhold large-scale federal funding from California if the state keeps ignoring his executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The Democratic governor has defended California's policy.
You're talking about a very small number of people, a very small number of athletes. And my responsibility is to address the pressing issues of our time.
Also today, President Trump had another warning for Vladimir Putin after new attacks on Ukraine, saying he's, quote, playing with fire. Lester?
Gabe Gutierrez, thanks. King Charles delivered a rare speech in the Canadian Parliament today, reaffirming that Britain stands with Canada as it navigates a challenging relationship with President Trump. Tom Costello joining me now. And Tom, it was quite a message.
Yeah, this was not so subtle message to the White House. Canada, of course, is part of the British Commonwealth. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney invited King Charles to open Parliament today in a show of solidarity after President Trump slapped tariffs on Canada and suggested it should become the 51st state, outraging much of that country. The King's speech, written by Carney's office, said Canada is facing challenges that are unprecedented in our lifetimes.
Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination, and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear, and ones which the government is determined to protect. As the anthem reminds us, the true North is indeed strong and free.
Canadian analysts say that message was loud and clear to America. Canada is not for sale. Lester?
Tom Costello, thanks. Now to the investigation into that horrific incident when a driver plowed his van into a crowd of soccer fans at a parade in England. Raf Sanchez tonight with what we're learning about the suspect, and we have to warn you here, some of the images are quite graphic.
Tonight, new details emerging about the driver behind the wheel of this minivan who plowed into a massive crowd watching a championship parade. Police in Liverpool describing him as a 53-year-old white British man, now being held on suspicion of attempted murder, dangerous driving, and driving while on drugs.
Detectives are making significant progress as we seek to establish the full circumstances that led to this awful incident.
Investigators say they don't see any link to terrorism and that there was no intelligence suggesting an imminent attack. Tonight, much of the parade route remains a crime scene.
Down there inside that blue tent is the minivan, and we've been seeing forensics officers going in and out, examining it for clues.
Police now say at least 65 people were injured, including 4 children, one of them trapped beneath the van. But almost miraculously, no one was killed.
And tonight, police say it appears a barricade was temporarily lifted during the parade to make way for an ambulance, allowing the van driver to slip in behind it. Lester?
Raf Sanchez, thank you. We turn now to the violent break-in at the home of Beanie Babies founder Ty Warner, the suspect arrested after allegedly attacking one woman who was on the property. Liz Kreutz reports.
Tonight, shocking details emerging about a terrifying home invasion at a Montecito mansion owned by Beanie Babies founder Ty Warner.
The suspect is probably still inside the house at this point.
According to the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, a man broke into the home Wednesday and began violently attacking a woman before barricading himself in an upstairs bathroom.
We also have an injured female who was found in the pond with a wound.
A criminal complaint says the woman is now comatose due to brain injury. Warner was also home at the time, but unharmed.
They had found a woman who had some very severe injuries, and she was in front of the residence, and they were able to get her out into safety.
The suspect, identified by officials as 42-year-old Russell Maxwell Fay of Nevada, arrested after attempting to escape by jumping out of a second-story window. Records show he has a history of arrests. The scary incident happening in the exclusive coastal enclave of Montecito, home to celebrities like Oprah, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle.
How unusual is this for something like this to happen in Montecito?
I mean, it's odd for Santa Barbara County. I think it really shook a lot of our community members.
Warner, the notoriously reclusive billionaire credited with launching the 90s Beanie Baby craze, has not commented on the brazen break-in, with investigators saying there is no indication the suspect knew the victim. And authorities are still trying to figure out why the suspect targeted this home. The sheriff's office says he faces an attempted murder charge and is being held without bail. Lester?
All right, Liz Kreutz, thank you. The supplement industry is worth billions and only expected to grow over the next decade, but some doctors say they're seeing serious health risks and worry it's due to a lack of regulation. Emily Aketa reports.
When Robert Grafton turned 50, the father of 5 started prioritizing his health, eating better, exercising more.
Then I started seeing ads for different supplements, and I said, why not? I'll start trying them.
He's far from alone. 3/4 of adults in the U.S. use supplements, according to an industry trade group. But within a week of adding a liquid turmeric combo to his supplement routine, Grafton fell extremely ill.
I couldn't stand the look of food. I felt nauseous. I started itching.
Dr. Dina Halegua DiMarzio is a hepatologist at Jefferson Health in Philadelphia and showed us his blood work.
Yes, you can see that, it's over 10 times the upper limit of normal.
Grafton had a supplement-induced liver injury.
Are you seeing people increasingly take supplements?
Yes, it's become a billion-dollar industry, and we've seen that trend mirror in terms of liver injury from supplements.
One study found serious liver failure cases related to supplements increased 8-fold between 1995 and 2020, though still rare. Experts say consumers should be especially mindful of botanical supplements, which aren't as well studied. Turmeric, green tea extract, and ashwagandha are among the most popular that can lead to liver damage.
When you hear herbal or natural, it sounds like something good for you, but that's not always the case.
Yes, natural does not mean safe. There's a difference between cooking with a spice like turmeric or drinking green tea. But then when you take that compound and you concentrate it and add other potential chemicals to put it into a tablet, this is where things can really go wrong.
Unlike medications, the FDA does not vet supplements for safety or effectiveness before they hit store shelves. It's why Grafton, who has made a full recovery, says he's gone back to the basics.
I try to exercise every day, eat as healthy as I can.
Keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple.
Emily joining us now. What should people keep in mind when it comes to the safety of these supplements?
Well, first and foremost, always talk to your doctor before you take a supplement. There's also a federal database called LiverTox that actually grades supplements based on their liver injury risk. So a helpful tool there.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. In 60 seconds, stay in your own lane. The new twist in the legal battle between New York and DOT over fees to drive into traffic-clogged Manhattan. And why one airline is charging for luggage for the first time starting tomorrow. We're back now with the battle between the Trump administration and New York City over a program to reduce traffic. The president says he wants to kill that program, but today a federal judge temporarily blocked that effort. With more, here's Sam Brock.
New York City's congestion pricing will remain in drive at least another couple weeks after a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order against the Trump administration, preventing the president from punishing New York for not slamming the brakes on the program, which charges most drivers $9 to visit the busiest parts of Manhattan.
The traffic has improved a little bit, but the pricing is ridiculous.
There's less traffic.
You've noticed a big difference.
Oh, yeah, big difference.
The federal government threatening to cut off some transportation funding if the city doesn't end the program.
One of the things that a lot of people have been put off by is the idea that the federal government's going to step in and tell New York City how to deal with its traffic problem.
President Trump calling out congestion pricing in his early days in office, including this post from February wearing a crown and declaring congestion pricing is dead.
They're taking, many dollars out of your pocket.
But as the legal gridlock continues, the city's transportation authority says the early returns are stellar for the first plan of its kind in the country. The MTA says in April alone, 2.3 million fewer cars entered the congestion zone than would have if the plan wasn't in place. In the first 3 months of the year, a whopping 8.1 million fewer drove through the area.
Car crashes are down, bus ridership is up, subway ridership is up.
One New York congressman summed it up as less about the location of the tolls and more about the federal government getting involved in what is typically city and state traffic plans and the precedent that might set. Lester?
All right, Sam Brock in New York, thank you. We're back in a moment with the boat explosion caught on camera, the investigation to find out what happened. Scary moments this Memorial Day weekend after a boat exploded in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with 13 people aboard. Surveillance video capturing the moment a fireball erupted. 11 people were treated for injuries. That included 2 children. Investigators are looking into the cause. It's the end of an era for free checked bags on Southwest Airlines. Starting tomorrow, the airline will charge many passengers to check luggage for the first time in over a half a century. Customers can expect to pay $35 for their first checked bag and $45 for the second. A stowaway pair of pigeons caused some chaos aboard a Delta Airlines plane this weekend, briefly delaying takeoff from Minneapolis. Passengers attempted to capture one as it flew through the cabin. The birds were eventually caught and released safely. In a statement, Delta said it appreciated the careful actions of people on board. When we come back, revisiting ancient history from Nintendo's humble roots with cartridges to Netflix's DVD past. How bygone pop culture connections are bridging generations. Next. And finally, there's good news tonight about a university professor who has spent almost 2 decades teaching the history of pop culture. Our Brian Chung went to Syracuse to get a blast from the past.
Among the famous figurines and star-studded names, there are cartridges and consoles, a museum of pop culture.
It's called the Watchman.
Curated by Syracuse University professor Bob Thompson.
Students certainly all know about Netflix. It actually sent physical DVDs through ye old post office.
And on Tuesdays, every semester, students, faculty, and community members gather for a special lecture focused on the ways in which television captures our history.
If you want to understand the country we live in, you have to understand its presidencies, the wars that it's fought, its political parties, but you also have to understand its lawn ornaments, its love songs, and its sitcoms.
From MASH to The Twilight Zone, Thompson's Tuesdays are a refresher for those old enough to remember and an intro for those young enough to wonder.
We're the people who then watch it and turn it into something that has even greater meaning.
Is there a bridging between generations that happens here?
I would say it's definitely a bridging of generations.
To be able to connect with people who are much older than you about stuff that they watched when they were a kid and see them light up about it, it's really beautiful.
Some students even bringing their parents along.
A lot of the stuff we watch are kind of things from the 70s or 60s. So I do like asking them if they saw it.
In a world where everything is on demand, Community is still regularly scheduled programming. Brian Chung, NBC News, Syracuse, New York.
And that is Nightly News for this Tuesday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.